Hello, welcome to Success Studio Live. I'm your host, Tara LaFon Gooch, the CEO of Best Branding Solutions. On this show, we interview purpose driven leaders, people that are actively looking to change the world around them, people that are looking to inspire and incite change and create massive amounts of impact. Those are the people who I let on this show. So tonight I have a very special guest, Stefan Goretsky. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. And the title of our show today is 22 a Day, Veterans Giving Back. Now, Stefan, what does 22 a day mean? I know that's a hashtag. I've seen it in a couple places. Can you give us a little bit of background of what that means?
Yes, I can. So 22 a day is the current estimate of veterans that we lose on a daily basis to suicide.
Mm,
There's not much more to say about it than that. It's a terrible number. It should not be at 22. Um,
absolutely. And that's on American soil.
right. This is not combat operations. This isn't our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines overseas, fighting for freedom. And this is our veterans who have returned home and have a hard time transitioning back to normal and routine life, or transitioning from the service and becoming a full-time veteran. Um, it's overwhelming when you dedicate so much time of your life to a specific cause, whether it's one tour or multiple tours, and you do a full career. Um, it's a very high-paced environment, and it can just be a challenge sometimes to tone that back and kind of return to a normal pace for life. So
Yeah. No, it's such an incredible cause. And I feel for veterans, they they're in service. A lot of times they see things that no human being should see. Let's be honest. They see horror. They see things again that will scar any normal person. And then they come back, and it's really hard to make that transition. It's not something that's natural. It's not something that happens overnight. But what I've seen is a lot of people are shunned almost. They lack the support when they return. They nobody feels like, maybe they feel like they can't relate to anybody else, or that their friends that they once had, or their family even, that they can't relate to them anymore, or that nobody's supporting them. What do you think are some of the factors that creates that isolation? Because I feel like it's that isolation that drives that suicide, of course, with the trauma from the war as well, or combat.
well, oftentimes I think that it's maybe a little bit self-driven.
Mm,
We become, you make do with what you have. You do the best with what you can, in some of these challenging environments. And so, you come back and things here are supposed to be easier. Life is supposed to be easier here. And you take that same mentality and that same approach of, well, this is just something I have to do or I have to get through. And so I think that part of the problem is perhaps that, we just, as veterans, we just don't ask for the help that we need or that's available. And there are loads of organizations out there whose purpose is to reduce that 22 a day number, or, provide an environment of camaraderie or places for people to go. So I think the resources exist. There probably aren't enough, which is
yeah.
one of the reasons I'm here today. But yeah, I think I think it's driven highly by that. Uh,
Yeah.
well, nobody wants to feel like a failure either, right? And so sometimes just admitting that you need help or realizing that you need help feels like a personal failure, and it's a challenge. So add
That's
that to the stigma of mental health and getting help, or now the stigma of, oh well, everybody has that problem, so just suck it up and
And by that problem, are we talking about the PTSD problem?
I would say, yeah, PTSD.
Yeah.
It's the only time in history we've had 20 full years of sustained combat operations, and that's affected and not just mine, but my generation, the previous generation, and the one that's come after me. The point, my children's age. So we're three generations of war, and the psychological effect, I think, has not been fully grasped.
That's interesting. I did not put that together. And it's fascinating, really. But alarming. It tells me and it signifies to me that this is a very pervasive issue. There's a lot of people suffering, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Wow. So, how I found you. This is always interesting. So, I connected with Dr. Michelle, which, Dr. Michelle, if you are watching, please let us know in the comments. And anybody, please let us know in the comments as we're talking if there's something that sparks, conversation. If you have a question for Stefan or for myself, let us know. But how did this foundation really get started? This home of the brave. And by the way, if anybody's watching, again, scan that QR code, go to this website, learn more about this cause. This is one of the most powerful causes right now. So scan that QR code, learn more. But oh, Michelle, Dr. Michelle says she's here. Hi, Michelle. But tell us more about Home of the Brave. What's it all about? How did it get started, and why is it important?
Okay. So you mentioned Dr. Michelle. That's Dr. Michelle Waldron.
Yep.
She is a clinical worker and counselor, and has dedicated her life to helping others. Her father is a retired Air Force veteran, so she grew up as as a military brat. I'm not sure if that's still the word we use, but she grew up around that kind of sense of respect for service and helping others, and that kind of set her on her trajectory for life. And she was married to a Marine as well, and got to see firsthand what PTSD looks like, in somebody that you care about. And it kind of, for her, sparked a new direction and a new cause, and she decided what she wanted to do. So in 2021, she founded Home of the Brave, and then took about a year. In 2022, she received the nonprofit status. So we are a fully tax deductible nonprofit organization. So it's slow steps at first, and yeah. So our goal is to provide resourcing and outreach to veterans, homeless veterans, veterans suffering from PTSD, veterans who are not in a place that have easy and close access to a VA where they can receive care, but in particular towards the mental health. So, and while we're not quite there yet, we still, everything has to be done. Every state has different regulations. So while we're currently working through the process of becoming, fully able to provide the counseling resources, in the meantime, what we're doing is providing resourcing, um, um, pointing vets in the right direction where they can receive immediate help, helping them with VSO related issues and those sorts of things. So, baby steps, but the ultimate goal is to establish a permanent residence in our first one is anticipated in North Carolina. So
Yep.
we are looking to acquire the funding. Step one will be to open a physical office, and then once we have that approval from the VA and the state, then we can have a physical location where vets can come in for that counseling. The follow-on steps will be to acquire the land and the building, with the ultimate goal of providing an in-residence location for homeless veterans who are trying to get back on their feet, need resources, counseling, just a physical address so that they can put that on an application, assistance with applying for jobs, sitting for interviews, and those sorts of things. So that's the long-term goal. We're still in the infant steps of it, but we're getting there.
That's right. Well, it's all about those steps. I mean, that's what it's all about. But what I love about it is, again, it's serving something larger than just one individual. This is about helping the collective, right? All of those vets right now that are struggling, that have served our country, that have, put themselves in harm's way and danger so that we can have freedom. Right now, they need our support, they need our help. Organizations just like this are stepping up to the plate with that purpose of helping those people who are so desperately in need of this service. And I personally, I'm a North Carolina native. I don't know, but where do you live in North Carolina, Stefan? You're
I
in North
actually
Carolina, right?
I currently live in Maryland, which is, I retired up here, but I joined and grew up in West Texas. So
Well, this is a small world because I grew up in Maryland. But I came to North Carolina for college. That's crazy. No, small world, right? Um, but
you
I
got the
love
better
it.
end of the deal in escaping the traffic. So
Oh my god, the traffic and the taxes, don't get me started. Right? But no, I'd love to have you guys in North Carolina. I think that would just be amazing. And I would love to be a part of this in some capacity as well, because I want to help. If you can help save one person's life, just one, you have done your job. But an organization like this is not aiming to just change one life. It's aiming to change many lives. And with you and with Michelle, with your combined leadership, I'm so hopeful for the future that you guys can help a lot of local veterans, especially, just step up and live a better life.
that's the goal.
That's the goal. Wow. So let's talk a little bit about transitioning, because I do have some vets that I know who are near and dear to my heart, clients and friends of mine, who have been in that same position, who were in service in the military in some capacity, and then transitioned to civilian life and found it really difficult. Um, is there any light you can shed on that, since you have been in those shoes and have transitioned?
Um, that's a challenging question, and I think the journey for everybody is a little bit different. But at the end of the day, accepting that, um, you're taking off the uniform, and while perhaps you aren't going to do that every day anymore, and you're not going to serve in that capacity anymore, all the all the reasons and that moral compass as to why you joined, can still be applied to life. There are other ways to serve people and support people, and you know just to give back, and make your surroundings and your environment a little bit better. Um, Accepting that, yeah, I think acceptance that part of your life that you are, whether by choice or not, once that date happens, you're in a new life, and so you have to accept that. And I think it can be a challenge in so many ways. One, from just losing that camaraderie, or two, not being surrounded by like-minded people, and moving into a different environment can be a challenge for people.
Mm,
Just a change in pace. It's taken me. I retired in January of 2020. That's when I started my terminal leave. I think my official out was in March of that year, but I went straight back into work. I did what everybody in my profession does. I got out. I found a job as a contractor, and I went right back into the building.
wow.
And it was a challenge. The pace is different. The expectations are different. Um, but you have to find what's going to make you happy. For me, it was not chasing a paycheck. It wasn't going back into doing the same type of work. I've kind of found my calling now, moving outside of that. So my day job these days, I work as a corporate recruiter. It gives me a chance to talk to people all day and assist them to put them in a job where they want to be. But my best days are days that I talk to somebody who's either getting ready to transition or just transition. And if I can offer any piece of advice or assistance or point them in the right direction, those are generally my best days.
Absolutely. I love that. And, going back to the title of our show, again, 22 a day. So the numbers are staggering. It's really difficult. I can only imagine, to be in the military, be ingrained in that culture, perhaps face combat, come back to American soil, try to transition, but you find it difficult. Again, you may not feel like you fit in anymore, right? You may feel like a completely different person, and in many ways you are. So, going back to this 22 a day, they feel like they've lost hope.
That's the number one reason right there.
Hope. Wow, the number one reason you said. That's powerful. Let's talk about that. What does it mean to lose hope, and how can we get it back for these vets?
Man, if somebody had a direct and easy answer to that, then we probably wouldn't be sitting there discussing this at all. So I don't know. I think it looks a little bit different for everybody else. I can tell you that personally, at my worst, what it looked like and felt like was just a lack of desire or
Mm,
self motivation, or felt like sometimes even the capacity to just get up and move on and do it. So um, yeah, and once you go down that track, it's really easy to kind of bury yourself in that pit and not see a way out. It's hard to look back up and see that you know there is there is a way out. There is somebody to help. There is somebody to talk to. So um, the biggest thing I'd say to anybody listening, especially a vet, somebody who's struggling or having a hard time with their day to day, is just talk to anybody. It doesn't matter. You know, Even a passing person on the street uh, can sense that somebody's in need and will oftentimes lend a sympathetic ear. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just a nice gesture from somebody else. So
that's right. And I always like to leave my door open. So, open invitation for anybody who is struggling right now. If you're having suicidal thoughts, if you're contemplating and thinking to yourself that you don't have a purpose on this earth, if you think you're not worthy, my door is open. I would rather people reach out to me right now than to end their lives. It's too many. 22 a day is too many. So let's change this narrative, right? And it starts with supporting organizations just like this, like Home of the Brave, that helps give people the resources and tools so that they don't feel like they're alone, so that they don't feel unworthy, so that they feel like there is hope. Because just like you said, Stefan, that's the number one reason, right? They feel hopeless.
yeah.
So
you know,
powerful.
I think it starts even more simple than that, right? It's just we're all human beings and we all deserve respect and dignity, just by the sake of being. So the best thing anybody can do is just you know, treat your fellow human beings with respect and dignity. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they've seen. You don't know the demons that haunt them in their sleep. You don't
Yeah.
know how many friends they lost.
Yeah. That's right. Nobody knows someone else's struggle, someone else's pain. And that's why, we have to refrain from judgment of others. It doesn't serve us, it doesn't serve anyone. And, the longer and the more often we judge others, it's that negative energy. It doesn't work. It doesn't contribute to anything and doesn't help anyone. Reach out to others with a genuine human interest, human connection, and change somebody's life just by listening to them, by hearing their story. Sometimes, like you said, that's all someone needs, right? Is just to feel like they've been heard. Powerful. Wow. Well, I'm so glad to see that you have transitioned and you're living um, a very successful life, and utilizing your time to help other people. That's so key. For any vet that's listening right now, if you have a good piece of advice, feel free to share it. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
That's fine. If you spent any time in service, and I bring this one up in particular because I was just talking to a former coworker and one of my proteges. She was a great sailor. She did two, and I happened to run into her a week before last, and we had coffee together. And I asked her, I said, did you submit your claim to the VA? And she was like, no, I'm pretty young and I'm healthy. Like I don't need it. I got good health care and health insurance. And so what I would say, my one piece of advice is whatever you think you came in contact with or whatever ailments you might have had, it's not about trying to manipulate a system and get a benefit, right? If you served in any capacity, then the very least that this government can do is make sure that you're taken care of. And maybe you don't need it immediately, but just establishing yourself with the VA, processing that claim, and having a place to go if things got really bad, right? Like it's great if you transitioned well and you're in a great position and you have great health insurance and you don't have to use the VA and you can see, whoever, whatever doctor you prefer. But not everybody's in the same boat. But I find it mostly with younger veterans who only did one or two tours and they're like, oh, I only did one or two tours and I'm pretty healthy and young. So that's great. I'm happy for you that you're great and healthy right now. But if something comes up, you want you did not want, you deserve to be taken care of. For the sacrifice that you made, the least that this government can do for you is make sure that you receive the care that you need. So that's my one piece of advice. If you
I
serve, go to VA and file your claim.
Absolutely. You're worth it. You've served, you've done your duty. Make the most out of it. It's available to you. So that's a really good point because so often we can say, "Oh, I'll just let somebody else have it." Well, no, just you take care of you too. And oftentimes as well, sometimes it doesn't happen, immediately. We don't, PSD kind of can take some time to show a little bit too.
And other
So
elements
it's
affect that, right? It's not just the mental health aspect. There are other things that you could be dealing with as a result of what you came into contact with, that can affect your mental health, or have symptoms that are similar to a PTSD symptom or something like that. So it's not just PTSD and have a stiff upper lip and carry on and move on. It's not that. It's you served your time. We owe you, at a bare minimum, owe you, the dignity of healthcare to take care of those ailments. Yeah, can't
absolutely.
stress that one enough. Thanks for asking.
No, I love that. That's perfect. And advice for anybody else who is not a veteran, who is just watching this show for the first time. Maybe they don't know any veterans. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but maybe they haven't served. Is there any advice that you have to just regular people like me?
I probably already covered it, and there is no difference, right, of just regular people. We're all people. Everybody deserves respect and dignity. So that's I don't know. And I wasn't always that way. I maybe didn't always have that reputation of being the nice guy or the easy guy to talk to, or being very approachable. And and maybe it's just because I had that other reputation that I'm trying so hard to work in the other direction and make up for those things. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's no us and them, right? If you served, you are more likely to have cancer. You're more likely to kill yourself. You're more likely to do those. It's just a byproduct of some of the things that we've done and seen. But it doesn't make us any different from the rest of the population. We're all people. We're all Americans. Like, just, take care of each other.
Take care of each other, right? But have sympathy. Have sympathy. Have empathy. Empathy. Not sympathy. Empathy.
Empathy.
Have empathy for veterans. Again, they've put their lives on the line. Have empathy for people. Don't shun people. And when you see a purpose-driven organization like Home of the Brave, show
Help them
them
out.
your support. Yeah, show them your support. Share their posts on social media. You don't have, giving money, absolutely. Give money, help these vets, but you can also share their posts on social media. You can also reach out. How can I help veterans? Right? Again, give to those that gave to you. It's so simple. It's the law of reciprocity. But Stefan, fantastic conversation tonight. Thank you so much for being a guest. And I will re-air this so that more people can watch it as well. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you for helping us spread our message. Again, to anybody that's watching or listening, we are Home of the Brave, Veteran Transitional Services. Our goal is to provide outreach and support to those in need. And if that is something that you could stand behind and you want to support, then please help us out.
Support
Uh,
these guys.
I'm fine. Dr. Waldron's fine. Help us help some of these vets that are in genuine need. Somebody that doesn't have a place to put their head at night.
Exactly. Help these guys. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who tuned in tonight to Success Studio Live. We will see you on the next episode. Until then, if you are a purpose-driven leader, subject matter expert, somebody that is inspired to change the world in some kind of capacity, reach out. You could be a guest on the next episode. Until then, take care, everyone. Good night, and I will see you next time.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
again.